What's going on down here in southwestern Utah with our Resilient Landscapes Collaborative is the right thing to do. This is the future of natural resource management. We're doing things on a meaningful scale across landscapes and across all ownerships. And we're starting to really see the benefits on the same scale.
We're out here today looking at some of these projects that have done, these habitat projects. These habitat projects are very crucial for wildlife. We rely on them a lot, and since these projects have been done over the last few years, they've helped us do a lot with wildlife. Most of these projects occur on winter range when it's pretty critical for wildlife to survive. So that's where they originally started, was with the winter range, and from there they've expanded to all types of range. If we do these habitat projects on all kinds of range, anywhere be it from summer range to winter range, it's going to help us with the wildlife in these areas. These areas here contain elk, they contain mule deer. Also, a lot of these type of projects, and the funding that comes from this is for sage-grouse. And in this part of the area, the sage-grouse populations have increased, and our lek counts, the numbers are up. It's just really good for wildlife.
20 to 40,000 acres a year is being treated mechanically, and that's just in southwest Utah. Pretty much the whole 5-county area in southwest Utah is being managed for rangeland health and landscape resilience, and that's definitely going to help with catastrophic wildfires. It's going to be easier to make a stand in strategic locations. And the wildlife habitat is really booming, and there's a solid foundation now in place for the mule deer herds, and the winter ranges are being restored, and the soil erosion problem that we have in a lot of areas are being mitigated through treatments like these.
Habitat and connectivity for sage-grouse is definitely a buzzword throughout the West. In southern Utah, it's even more so a factor because the terrain in southern Utah is a little bit more rugged. Our valleys are smaller, and we definitely have cliff-like formations if you're comparing us to, say, Wyoming, where the heart of the sage-grouse habitat is. So throughout the last, 50 to 100 years, we've had tree encroachment that have edged in those valleys so that it's hard for sage-grouse to get from one valley to the next. We definitely have development issues that have cut off those connectivity, and connectivity is important because you want to maintain viable populations of sage-grouse. When they're disconnected and they can't move out of those valleys and they can't interact with other subpopulations of sage-grouse, they become genetically isolated. We know that the birds are responding to the treatments and they're using them throughout different stages of their life. We can go through and do this for every season, the breeding season, brood rearing, fall and winter, and there's evidence that the birds are selecting for and using those treated areas throughout the entire corridor. For every treatment that we've done, we have sage-grouse using those treated areas at some point in the year.
The South Canyon project started back in 2010. It was a bunch of individuals from different agencies, private, state, federal folks got together and discussed the issues up on this watershed. This project was put together to help come up with solutions to how to improve the watershed, how to improve water quality, improve the understory, winter mule deer habitat, elk habitat, sage-grouse habitat, as well as fire and fuels. The project encompasses around 30,000 acres. This is phase 6, and we've accomplished about 14,000 acres to date. The project here consists of aerial seeding with a combination of shrubs, grasses, and forbs that is important for mule deer, sage-grouse, and a resilient landscape from fire. This project started fall of 2015. It was aerially seeded first with the combination of shrubs, grasses, and forbs. And then now we have the bullhogs or mechanical mulchers on site and grinding up the pinyon and juniper. When we first started working this area, not a lot of understory was underneath the trees. Bitterbrush was dying out, as well as sagebrush. And on past projects, we've had great success of a release of forbs, grasses, and shrubs once the pinyon and juniper was removed.
I work with Sean primarily through the Utah Partners in Conservation Development Program. We develop these types of projects, and we're able to pool state and non-government agency or organization funding and also federal funding to do large-scale projects like this. And it's a partnerships that we've been doing for several years, and it's something that works really well. I know certainly for the Division of Wildlife standpoint, we're seeing major benefits out on the landscape for wildlife. So we're really happy with these types of projects, and it's something that we want to continue to do. We want to continue to maintain and build those relationships with our federal counterparts and see these types of projects done.
So the diversity that this has brought back in, I only anticipate that my cattle are going to do 3 times better up here than they ever did before. And after we get going on water development and things that we'll need to keep this place going the way it is, I hope it never changes. I hope we can keep it just as beautiful, and I think we can. And I want to thank those people that had the guts to step up and say, let's try it in this sandy country, because it's beautiful, it's great, and it's what I think conservation is all about. Conservation isn't just leaving it to Mother Nature. It's only going one direction that way. Conservation is when you take an area and you do it and you study it and you see what works, and you take it from there and move it to another area. I think that the money that was spent here has been well used, has been to the betterment of the land and the people. I know it was hard as a rancher. I have to stay off of this for 3 years. I've had to move my cattle and rent private property and truck them 100 miles north of here. But to me, it's worth it. It's well worth it to get this established and have this project done.
Well, we've been in business for a little over 30 years, and a lot of projects early on were really small projects, but that's what the agencies had for money. We didn't have a lot of money. And we were always just looking down the path to say, boy, how can we do this at a larger scale and actually leave a bigger footprint on the landscape? And so when we get opportunities like this and some of the other collaboratives that are working in the West, we were really excited about being able to, again, increase the size of our footprint on the landscape out there. So healthy habitat for all wildlife is a really good thing for all of us. So, you know, healthy habitat means more wildlife out there. That means more wildlife watchers. That means more photographers. That means more hikers. And certainly in the fall of the year, a big part of the recreation is deer hunting and elk hunting, and throughout most of the western states. So there are many communities throughout the West that really depend on the fall hunting seasons to get them through the year. They're small communities, they don't have a big base, but boy, when those hunters and fishermen come in, that really makes a big difference and allows us, I think, to keep the same landscape that we inherited as young people, and those people are still existing, and we still have some great things that are happening out on the public lands.
As I stand here on this land, I can't help but think of a poem, a cowboy Christmas poem that I knew about and that I've heard about, and I'd like to tell you just the last few verses that say so much about what this country can be and what it should be. And it's talking about a cowboy that's out on the range and about his prayer to God, about how grateful he is for the land and the freedom that he stands for. And the last little part goes, and just one more thing I'll ask you, Lord, just help us what you can to save some seeds of freedom for the future sons of man. And to me, that's what these projects are about. It's not just for me and it's not for you, but it's for the future and it's for what this country can be.